All right, so welcome back to another. What I don't know what to call these, but basically, it's where I take a hero or a group of heroes and put them and be like, what would it be like if they were protecting the city instead of this character? And that, as you can see, what if the Road Rovers were the New York's protector? But I'm not talking like Spider-Man's New York. I'm talking the Ninja Turtle version of New York. So let's envision a world where the Ninja Turtles never existed, and instead the Road Rovers were New York's defenders. What would it be? What would that really be like? Like, what would it be like if the Road Rover and you might be thinking, why the Road Rovers of all the faux Ninja Turtle characters out there? Why the Road Rovers? And I'm like, why not? I don't think I've ever talked about the Road Rovers. I think the show's kind of fun, and I have never done any. I don't think I've ever done anything, or at least not a lot, with the characters. So I was like, screw it. Let's have some fun, shall we? Let's have some legit fun with this story. So, anyway, well, not story, but this hypothetical idea. So, for this idea, we have to have for all of this is that we don't have Splinter, we don't have the Ninja Turtles, but the supporting characters and the world itself is all around intact. So rather than it's the Ninja Turtles protecting New York, it's the Road Rovers. Now, obviously, one of the major things that the Road Rovers don't have that the Ninja Turtles have is stealth. They do not have stealth. They do not have any. They don't have any ninja training, although Colleen is shown that she does know hand-to-hand combat and jujitsu and all that. But the big thing is that these guys are more like these big, flashy, hey, we're gonna, we got all this tech and whatnot, we're gonna use it, and we're just gonna use it however we see fit. We're going to, we got these big, flashy, toy line, equipment and vehicles. So that's kind of the thing, is that it looks like the Road Rovers are obviously the better funded of the Ninja Turtles, where it's more like the Ninja Turtles depend on more of, hey, we'll just build this out of a box, we'll build this in a sewer with a box of scraps. Here, on the other hand, it's like the Road Rovers have, all this gear to help them. They have all this, technology to assist them in whatever endeavors that they have. That's kind of the big thing, is that they have all of this technology, all of this science to them, and they are basically hey, we're going to use it how we see fit, even if it means bulldozing some places. Anyway, so the other thing is that the other thing that the Road Rovers have, the Ninja Turtles don't, is superpowers. Like I said, Colleen is a master martial artist. You have Exile, who has heat vision and ice vision. Shag is just all muscle. Blitz has super fangs and super claws that can cut through solid steel. And Hunter is a speedster. And then you have, I think his name was Muzzle. He's just crazy. And that's your team right there. These guys depend more on their powers than anything else. So if these guys were in the New York version of the Ninja Turtle version of New York, the big thing you have to look at is that these guys don't really need to jump around and do all this stuff. It's more they have superpowers that allow them to go toe to toe with bigger enemies. They could actually get into fistfights with Bebop and Rocksteady, or Toka and Razar, or any of the other major heavy hitters in this version of New York City. That's the main thing, is that these guys can actually go blow for blow, can actually trade blows with other opponents. So these guys can actually get some basically throw hands and take punishment at the same time. Now, the other thing, though, is that these guys would probably be in the same place that the Ninja Turtles would be, which would be in hiding. That's kind of another thing, is that Yeah, New York is like dealing with mutants and whatnot. You think they didn't really give a lot of love to the Ninja Turtles. It was just like another mutant. It's another set of mutants. And I feel like they'd have the same kind of feeling towards the Ninja Turtles themselves. They'd have this absolute like no love for the Ninja Turtles if they were in this this version of New York City, because it's just more mutants and we don't know if we can trust them or not. That's kind of the thing that I'm trying to get across, is that these guys would have to be like living in the shadows and whatnot, same as, even though yes, their cover story is they're the guard dogs to the world's leaders. Here it's a little different. Here, I think it might be a little different, where if they're working solely in Manhattan, they would have to depend on working solely there, so they have to be like police dogs or something. They'd have to be posing as like police dogs or councilman dogs or something of that degree. Yeah. Now, the other thing is, what would the people of like I said, the people of New York would probably be like a little hesitant on them. But I do think like it would be kind of fun to see how April would interact with them. Would April like faint seeing them? Probably. It's talking humanoid dogs with Power Ranger armor on. Of course she's going to be just a wee bit squeamish. As for Casey Jones, oh dude, Casey would absolutely love hanging out with the Road Rovers. He would absolutely like love the idea of hanging out with a bunch of dog people, and I think the one he would really like get along with most is, I'd say Shag. Even though Shag doesn't really talk, Shag's more like big and cuddly, and I think he'd be like a rock. I think like how to describe like if Casey and Shag were friends, it'd be like Rocket and Groot. Casey would just be this angry little ball of mass vigilantism, and Shag would just be there like, pat, good boy. That's how I kind of imagine it. Though I do think the rest of the Road Rovers would be like, oh cool, we have a fan. That's really cool. April would be, depending on what version of April this would be, whether it be 2012 or 80s or somewhere in the continuity, I think April would be all like, if this is reporter April, she'd be like writing puff pieces about the Road Rovers and be like, yeah, they're the heroes that we deserve. Because the thing is, like, the Road Rovers would be like out there, like showing their faces and wearing all the suits, but at the same time people would be like, they're dog people and mutants, like the people we're fighting, the city is sieged by. But and they also have tech, and they could turn on us with that tech. It's really hard. It'd be really hard to tell. So that's something. So that's another thing. Now, as for like the heavy hitters, like the Utrom or Krang or Triceratons, or of course Shredder, those would be the ones where I feel like these guys would be. While they are equipped for this kind of combat, I don't know if they could actually like hold their own against such forces as them. I mean, have they done with alien invasions? I do remember there was an episode where they did investigate an alien invasion, but I can't remember if that's for sure. But I do think they have the power set to take on like the Triceratons, and the gear for it. But the thing that the Turtles did was that they outsmarted and outmaneuvered the Triceratons and the other likes of Krang. Here, the Road Rovers depend more on like powers and tech. Like, it's just brute force. Like, I love the show, but that's really how it comes down to sometimes. And yeah, they are smart, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying like, oh, all they depended on was brute force. But when you have superpowers, you tend to like, depend on that more, whereas Shredder would kind of teach them, skill beats power every time. And I do think Shredder, along with like Baxter Stockman, would try to like analyze, because they are created from mutagen. So I think they would Shredder would have Stockman, try to analyze and figure out what makes those creatures in particular tick. I think he would have a field day with that kind of with that kind of DNA. Yeah. I do think all in all it would be a lot of fun to see them, because while the Road Rovers themselves are more like a global team, here we're putting them in a city that usually takes a lot of damage from around the world, from other superheroes and its own superheroes. But here I think there'd be... The Road Rovers would probably cause some collateral damage here and there, but I do think they would stick around to clean it up. It wouldn't be like, uh-oh, Road Rovers, vanish. Just throw down a smoke bomb or some shit. So, yeah. But you guys tell me in the comments below, what do you guys think it would be like if the Road Rovers were the were New York's heroes? Just comment below, let me know, and once again, hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.